There's a certain kind of silence you only find deep in the Georgia pines. Not the soft kind that hums under conversation, but the thick, knowing kind like the land remembers things and just chooses not to tell you. That was what I felt that first morning on my porch, coffee in hand, sweat already blooming behind my neck. It had taken me 3 months to get that porch stable enough to stand on without the boards groaning like they were offended. But that morning, I stood there like I belonged. Because I did. That land was mine, 12 acres, deeded clean, auctioned off by the Treasury after a long-forgotten developer ran afoul of the IRS and left the place to rot. My name's Everett Paul. I'm 53, semi-retired federal prosecutor, and as of that spring, a full-time steward of a plot that most folks had written off. The house was rough, but the bones were honest timber frames you could hang your future on. The neighbors, at first glance, were pleasant enough. Mostly retirees, quiet mornings, the occasional wave. There was an older man named Curtis who sold eggs out of a cooler by the road and always had a joke ready. A woman named Renee tended roses like they were sacred. But no one came knocking. Not at first. I spent weeks fixing things, replacing rusted pipes, retiling the kitchen, reinforcing the gate with steel, and installing a keypad so solid you'd think I was guarding Fort Knox. I hired a surveyor from Atlanta, got my lines marked in fluorescent pink paint, and even walked the boundaries myself, just to feel the shape of what I owned. It all checked out. County clerk confirmed. Parcel 448, BZ was mine, fully outside of any municipal HOA overlay. Which is why, when I found that folded piece of paper wedged into my gate one Thursday morning, I thought it was some kind of prank. Thick stationery, gold-embossed letterhead, Millstone Grove Homeowners Association. The letter was polite, in a way that felt practiced. Said I'd been welcomed into the community and invited to submit my application for membership. The next paragraph mentioned a fine schedule for non-compliance with design covenants. Another warned of limited access to shared infrastructure if I failed to respond within 5 days. It didn't even have a return address. I laughed out loud alone. They're in my yard, just me and the pines, and a letter trying to tell me I owed someone money for breathing on my own porch. I drafted a reply that afternoon. Printed copies of my deed, my survey, the Treasury auction certificate, and the court ruling that released the land from any prior zoning entanglements. I mailed it certified, and just for flair, I attached a note. This land is not under your jurisdiction. Kindly cease contact. 3 days later, she showed up. Her name was Brenda Kessler, but everyone in town, at least those with a sarcastic streak, just called her Queen Brenda. She was the president of the Millstone Grove HOA, a position she apparently took as a divine right. She arrived in a spotless Audi SUV, heels clicking across my gravel like she'd never met dirt before. Blonde bob, crisp white blouse, clipboard clutched like a weapon. "Mr. Paul," she said without looking up. I was on my porch again, mug in hand. "That's me. This is a compliance inspection. Your gate obstructs a shared easement. You're on private property," I said evenly. "There is no easement. All properties within Millstone Grove." "I'm not within Millstone Grove. This parcel's exempt." She narrowed her eyes, sniffed like I smelled of litigation, and turned on her heel. "We'll be in touch," she said. She wasn't lying. The next morning, 2 deputies from the county sheriff's office came by. No lights, no sirens, just a white Crown Vic and a wary look. One stayed by the car. The other approached, hand on his belt. "Morning," I said. "What's the trouble?" "Got a call," he replied. "Said someone's living in a foreclosed home, blocking community access." I had the folder ready: deed, title, satellite boundary map, and a 2019 ruling excluding my lot from the HOA overlay. He flipped through it, took photos, made a quiet phone call. 10 minutes later, both deputies tipped their hats and left. Queen Brenda was parked at the road's edge. She didn't wave. I did. From there, things got subtle and then not so subtle. First, it was the flyers, "Let us bring your neglected home into harmony with your neighbors" kind of garbage. Then someone keyed my truck. A week after that, my new private property no trespassing sign was gone. I replaced it with 3. Installed security cameras, solar-powered, night vision, cloud-backed. Mounted them where they couldn't be reached without a ladder and some bad intentions. Then came the whispers. I heard them at the hardware store, the post office, the feed shop. Folks saying I faked the deed, that I'd bribed a zoning clerk, that I was building a compound. One day, Renee the Rose Lady approached me with eyes full of unease. "They're saying you're not supposed to be here," she said quietly. "I'm here legally." "I know. Just watch your back." Then, things escalated. Two HOA board members I'd never seen came down my Dravino notice, no invitation. Claimed they were updating their GIS database. I told them to leave. One of them took a photo of my mailbox before they did. I'd had enough. I went back to the county. Got every document recertified with wet ink and a raised seal. Then I reached out to an old contact, Jasper Haynes, now working at the Georgia Department of Administrative Services. I sent him everything. "They're trying to redraw the boundary," I told him. "Retroactively." He paused. "Send me the overlay file. I'll get a guy to compare timestamps." The next day, an anonymous envelope arrived in my mailbox. Plain paper. No return address. Inside, a printout of an email chain between Brenda and a zoning clerk named Troy Mathers. Brenda's email read, "Can we get this parcel under the Grove's governance without board vote? He's not compliant." Troy's reply, "Not without updated maps. You'll need a time-stamped revision." Attached was a scanned map. My parcel was shaded red. They were trying to fake jurisdiction. I filed a FOIA request the next morning. Then another, this time under Georgia's Open Records Act, demanding all correspondence between the HOA and the zoning office concerning parcel 448, BZ. 3 days later, I was served. Civil suit. Trespassing. Unlawful obstruction. Operating without HOA approval. It read like satire, if satire charged you court fees. I called my lawyer, Lucia Tran. Sharp as a tack and not afraid to use it. "They're bluffing," she said. "Trying to scare you into settlement. Let's scare them instead." We filed a countersuit, defamation, abuse of process, interference with property rights. Filed motions to dismiss. Filed subpoenas for internal HOA emails. And we got lucky. Buried in a stack of redacted PDFs was an internal memo from a board member. "Brenda says the parcel technically isn't under us, but wants it handled anyway. Just follow her lead." That was our golden ticket. We pushed. Subpoenaed Brenda's personal email linked to HOA activity. Got it. And there it was, a trail of correspondence between her and Troy Mathers. Draft maps. Requests to retroactively adjust overlays. Even a PDF titled "Corrected Reference Internal Use Only." It was fraud. Documented. I sent it all to Jasper. He reviewed it, looped in the AG's office. "If she filed that fake map," he said, "we're looking at felony charges." 2 days later, she tried to. The clerk rejected it. Wrong metadata. No board vote. No timestamp. But she tried. And that's what mattered. Then she came back. This time, at night. Same SUV. Same fake smile. Bottle of Cabernet in hand. I thought we could talk. About what? Resolution. Neighbors. Peace. She stepped inside. I let her. Cameras rolling from 3 angles. She poured wine. Said all the right things. Maybe I got carried away. Maybe I misunderstood. We don't have to let this define us. I let her talk. Let the silence make her fill the space. The next morning, I slid a manila envelope across the table. What's this? A courtesy. Already sent to the Attorney General. She blinked. Said nothing. Walked out without her wine. For days later, sheriff's deputies arrested her during a committee meeting. Charges: filing false public documents, fraud upon a government agency, conspiracy to interfere with lawful property. The HOA suspended her, then removed her. At trial, it was a full house. Reporters, residents, people I didn't recognize, but who seemed to recognize me. Lucia laid it out: emails, maps, fake overlays, audio from our little wine night. The jury didn't take long. Full verdict in our favor. $525,000 in damages, half from the HOA, half from Brenda's personal assets. The court ordered oversight. New board elections. Every decision made under Brenda reviewed. And just like that, the air changed. Neighbors I'd never met brought pie. Kids biked past without being told to stay quiet. Curtis the Eggman gave me a discount. Renee gave me clippings from her prize roses. 2 months later, we had a block party. First in years, folks said. I grilled ribs. Lucia showed up with her family. Someone brought fireworks. And for the first time since I arrived, I felt like I lived in a neighborhood. On my gate now hangs a plaque. Private land. Not under HOA. Sometimes, peace isn't the absence of trouble. It's the presence of truth and the will to defend it. If you've been through something like this, I want to hear it. Drop a comment below. Tell me where you drew your line. And if you enjoyed this story, hit that like button. Subscribe for more because out here in Millstone Grove, we're just getting started.